Hi everybody and welcome to Race Day Preview as we look forward to this weekend's event at Chicagoland Speedway. Coming off an exciting race at Daytona won by Kevin Harvick, a dominant run for the 29 team. He's now got restrictor plate wins at 2 tracks this season. Is he the guy now to beat at restrictor plate races or is he the guy to beat everywhere?
Yeah. At this point, I'd say everywhere, just based on the fact that we got a guy like Jamie McMurray who has 2 wins at restricted plate tracks also this year, and he hasn't really done much elsewhere. So I'd lean more toward Harvick being the dominant guy this year so far. I think he's shown that he can, 13 top 10s. I mean, that's an impressive number right there. That shows consistency, and that's what you need to do to get into the chase.
Those 13 top 10s, 2 more than any other driver has right now. He's got a 212-point lead on Jeff Gordon. I mean, this is starting to look like he is not only a title contender, but maybe the title favorite.
He is, and I think at this point, given such a big lead that he has right now, he can kind of toil around a little bit with going for wins, and I think he's going to have to do that because we see guys like Jimmy Johnson and Denny Hamlin both with 5 wins apiece. So the fact that they're going to probably leapfrog him if the chase was to start today and move up into those top slots, how important is that to Kevin Harvick? Does he want to be the top seed going in? It's not like it's an insurmountable lead when you're the top seed. I mean, you can be caught in 1 week with 1 bad week. So the fact that he's showing consistency, I think, is the key for him right now. And then once you get to the chase, that's what wins you the championship. That being said, if he wants that top seed, he's going to have to pile up some wins, and maybe we'll see him try that this week at Chicagoland.
He's now got a cushion of about 500 points in the chase.
Yep.
As far as making it. He's got only 8 races left before they reseed everything. I think there's no choice but to just go all out, try and get every win you can. Right now, there's 2 guys with 5, as you mentioned, but he's the next guy. Nobody else has more than 2. He's got 2. So as long as he gets maybe 1, maybe 2 more, he'll guarantee himself, a chance to start the chase within 10, 20, maybe 30 points the lead. And I think that any driver will tell you they just want to stay close enough that they can erase that gap by the end of the first couple weeks and then move on.
That's the assumption that Jimmy Johnson and Denny Hamlin won't win any more races, and those guys, Denny's kind of faded a little bit in the last couple weeks, but he could turn it on at any moment, figure stuff out, and get himself going. We obviously know what Jimmy Johnson's capable of. He can win pretty much, like Kurt Busch said. If he wants to win at a track, he'll win there. So we'll see if those guys cool off or if they stay hot. But either way, Harvick's the guy to beat, and he's been very good so far this year.
A couple guys were hot after last week's race, not particularly on the track, but off of it. 2 confrontations stand out in my mind from Daytona.
Yep.
Obviously a place where you kind of expect some craziness.
Sure.
We had the AJ Allmendinger-Richard Petty confrontation where it wound up with the driver storming away from the owner. And you got Kurt Busch and Carl Edwards maybe mixing it up a little bit after the race.
Yep.
Depends whose perspective you believe as far as who was at fault there. Which was more surprising or more interesting to you?
For me, both would lean more toward Allmendinger and Petty, just based on the whole dynamics of it. You got a guy, Allmendinger, who's showing some fire this year, showing that he can likely make a run at the chase. He's been very good compared to what he's been in the past. Seems to be making that next step forward. But the fact that he would get in the face or walk away from a guy with so much, a legend like Richard Petty, it shows that maybe he's got some fire in his belly, and that he's not necessarily any disrespect, but at the same time, maybe Richard Petty will look at that and say, hey, we got a kid that really wants to win, really has a lot of fire and desire to do well, and he can go either way with that. And I think you're leaning a different way.
You're AJ Allmendinger.
Right.
You are struggling to stay in any seat, let alone in Richard Petty's seat. I'm not even talking about Richard Petty as the king, as a legend, as a first ballot, first class Hall of Famer in NASCAR. Strictly as an owner, you should treat him with more respect than that. I don't care how much value you have. Everybody who gets in that car, except for maybe Joe Nemechek, everybody goes into that situation looking to win, looking to do their best. That they wouldn't be there if they didn't have that fire in their belly. You're AJ Allmendinger. Act with some class and some respect in a situation like that.
Yeah, I still think it's the heat of the moment, and I think that behind closed doors, it could have been one of those things that as soon as it happened, he realized, what did I just do? You know, and maybe that's not what happened.
Hopefully he did.
Let's just assume that he got back there and said, you know, Mr. Petty, I apologize, just the heat of the moment, and give me another chance. And I think cooler heads will prevail in the long run. But certainly, I think one of the more interesting of the many things that we saw at Daytona this week.
The other one though needs to be, I think we need to touch upon it.
Sure.
Edwards and Busch. Some people are linking Busch's involvement in this to the entire Penske operation. We remember Edwards and Brad Keselowski earlier in the season. Is there a connection there? And what is Carl Edwards' reputation at this point? He used to be this, you know, very likable, happy-go-lucky guy. I think that's part of the reason you, for instance, became such a big fan of him early in his career.
Sure.
Are we seeing the true colors come out? Are we seeing some frustration? Where do you assess that?
Well, starting first with the whole Penske dynamic, I think Kurt is the one that said, you know, he linked what Edwards did to him to what happened to Brad earlier in the season. And I don't know. I've seen the video and I've seen both sides of it. Carl kind of said that he turned, you know, that Kurt turned left. He said that Carl turned right. He said, she said, whatever. Based on that, I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things. As far as his reputation, I don't know. It's a guy he's frustrated this year. He's been a guy in the past that's gone out and had top 5 cars every week. And I think maybe a little bit of frustration. He's still a good guy off the track. At least, if not, he's a great actor. Because every time, we just saw him in New Hampshire, he asks, you know, he asks the people, you know, the media, do you have any more questions? Most of these guys just get up and leave. You know, he asks if they have any more questions. He says, thank you, please, and thank you, all this stuff. So whether or not it's just an act, he's a great actor if it is. Otherwise, I don't know. I think it's just an act of frustration at this point.
I agree. We heard some stuff earlier in his career that some of it was fake, but now 5 or 6 years in, I mean, you can't carry that act for too long.
Exactly.
He's one of the guys, though, that I think enters this week and this stretch over the next 8 weeks right on the bubble. We saw a lot of movement in that area. He stayed 12th, came in 12th, left 12th.
Yep.
Otherwise, there was a lot of movement around that chase bubble. You got 5 guys currently within 87 points of each other between 11th and 15th. Junior up to 11th, Edwards in 12th, Mark Martin 13th, Clint Boyer 14th, Ryan Newman 15th. Who in that mix, 2 guys that are going to get those 2 spots?
Immediately, I say so long to Boyer and Newman. I just don't think they're consistent enough to maintain that spot. They could get in, they're good drivers, but just as far as consistency, that's why I'm going to dismiss them. I have Junior and Martin actually as my last 2, and for the simple reason, Junior 5 top 10s in the last. I'm sorry, 3 top 10s in the last 4 weeks, and the other finish was an 11th. So I mean, he's showing. I mean, that's consistency for him. I mean, we're used to seeing him 36th, 2nd, then the next week he's non-existent. I mean, I think he's found something. Whether he maintains it or not, we'll see. And Mark Martin, 5 top 5s. The other 2 have 3 combined. Edwards and Earnhardt, as far as those 2. So I just don't think Edwards is consistent enough right now, and it seems to be the word of the day, but really is, he's just not getting himself into the top 10 enough. Not enough top 5s, and clearly he's led like 2 laps this year. So I mean, I don't think he has it this year.
I'm going to stick with you on the Edwards thinking. I don't think he has it. I'll go with you on Mark Martin as well. I mean, he's got 5 top 5s. It's more than any other person in this mix.
Sure.
My other guy that's going to get in, I think, is Clint Boyer. He's got 9 top 10s. That's 2 more than any of the other 4 guys I mentioned. Now that we've reviewed last week's race at Daytona, we're going to move on to Chicago. You're going to have to look right down there a little bit. Click on the next video to find out who to watch, who's our sleepers, who's on our fantasy teams, and who we think is going to win this week's race at Chicago. Please join us there.